We've said it from the start. We're not here to be political, maybe a little motivational, but not political, at least on a local level. It doesn't mean we don't care. It means the opposite. What we're really after isn't more noise, it's more understanding. And we want to hear both sides, not just the louder voices. We want to hear the ones that are willing to explain where they're coming from and even listen in return. We know our own community has its lines, different religions, different sexual orientations, and whether you're housed or unhoused, or where you land politically. If we're listening, our differences aren't often where answers lie. It's about acknowledging those differences and working together for the same things: safer neighborhoods, stronger communities. That's the place we believe in. Not perfect, but trying. So if there is a thread running through this show, it's this. We're looking for the middle ground, the handshake, the moment where me versus you turns into what can we do? Change doesn't start far off. It starts right here. So, like we have grown to say here on the show, be the difference. Welcome to Parish of the Prairie, episode 6. Today's guest is someone who has spent her career making sure the most vulnerable among us are not forgotten. Eileen Bradshaw is president and CEO of Life Senior Services and its affiliates, Vintage Housing, and Life Pace. But long before leading one of Tulsa's most important organizations, she was on the front lines of hunger relief and early childhood support, from emergency infant services to leading the community food bank of Eastern Oklahoma. Eileen has helped launch programs many know by name: the Culinary Center, Food for Kids Backpack Program, and Senior Servings, all rooted in one belief: if we see a problem or a need, Tulsa steps up. Well, Eileen, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
We're very glad to have you. You've led organizations that serve infants, families facing hunger, and now seniors. And I'm curious, what's like the through line in your heart that connects all of that work?
We kind of joke about it. I did start with CBs, then families and seniors. So my next stop must be hospice, right? Like that's the next gig. Um, I think for me, people are people. And I just feel like um, my mother used to have the saying, too much is given, much will be expected. And uh, I think that we just all owe it to each other to give each other grace and assume good intent and assume that if you need a sandwich, it's not because you're not doing the right things in life. Or if your child needs diapers, it's not because you're a bad parent. Or if you need some help as you age, it's not because you didn't spend your life as a good citizen. So I think the through line is just I am extremely flawed and I want
Mhm.
grace from people. And so I feel like I need to be able to.
That's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
you've talked about volunteering at the food bank and meeting families who were working hard but still couldn't afford to feed their children. Was there a specific moment that shifted something within you?
I remember one person, a young woman, young mother, and she had 3 adorable children, and she was, so tender. They were restless, nobody wants to wait in line, especially 3 under 5-year-olds. And they were restless, and she was so gentle and tender with them. And, one of their birthdays was coming up, and we happened to have a Betty Crocker cake mix and some confetti icing, and she just teared up. And she said, we need dinner. Um, but the idea that we can also celebrate this birthday, we're not going to get to go to Chuck E. Cheese. We're not even going to go to McDonald's and go on the side. And it was just kind of amazing to me. I think at that time, I can't swear to prices, but it was probably the cake and the cake mix and the candles were probably all of $4. And to see the impact that that made and to see that they were hungry, but they were well loved and well cared for. And she would really do anything she could. She was working very long hours. She actually had 2 jobs and was trying to, barter with neighbors for childcare. I mean, it was, and it used to bother me because sometimes people assume that folks who are looking for food are fraudulent, right? Like, well, how do we know they need it?
Hmm.
I promise you that none of us want to stand in line for an hour to get food that we don't get to. I get impatient in the grocery store line when I'm getting exactly what I want, right? Think about standing in line for an hour to be given food that may or may not even be food, you're grateful for it because you need the food, but it might not be what you would even choose. So I feel like the whole system really inhibits any kind of fraud because it's not very fun to ask for help, as compassionate as people try to be. Um,
Right.
so I just think that little mom, I'll never forget her and her little family and that confetti icing that somebody had donated on a food drive.
I think in terms of just how the enormity of your situation, and I think of innovation and tight budgets, and how do you balance compassion with strategic thinking when building something sustainable?
Sustainability is really on everybody's mind, I think, right now, with all the changes in government funding and sort of economic uncertainty. I think everybody is very focused on we want to provide you this help, but it's not going to be very helpful if we pull the rug out, in a week or so. So that is a constant conversation. I wish I could tell you that I had a magic answer. Um, we balance before we roll something out that's new. We really do try to look at utilization and how many people will be impacted, and is this the best use of that investment? Because philanthropic dollars are finite.
Right.
Government dollars are finite, and so we really just have to be as good as stewards as we can be. We started a program during COVID, actually. We had a grant to take seniors to get the COVID vaccine. And that was the first kind of transportation grant we'd ever had. And it was when we were working from home. And I don't know if you remember the portal where you'd have to go out and try to grab an appointment like at 11:30 at night. I mean, it was just a crazy thing. And a lot of the folks we served didn't have computers. So we were trying to get those appointments for them. We would get appointments for a 92-year-old woman and she'd say, "Oh, I don't drive." So then we realized what a big thing transportation was. So that kind of got us started on it. And then I started doing some research, and literally billions of dollars are lost in this country every year, and countless health emergencies because seniors have transportation challenges. They can't get to those appointments. And then, of course,
Hmm.
their health gets worse and it costs the system more. I mean, it's an economic and a personal challenge. So we started this transportation situation up full time about a year ago, where if you're 55 and over, you can call us. We can arrange transportation for you to get to the doctor, home, dialysis, chemotherapy, any of those things. And it's a sliding scale. Most of the folks that ride pay 250 each way. But we had one woman that called us. She actually sent a video of herself, and she was on dialysis, so she has to go 3 times a week. She's in a wheelchair, and she was paying $71 to get to dialysis and $71 to get home. You can see how the math pretty
Oh, wow.
quickly. And
Yeah.
she ended up selling her house to try to, and she was about to lose her apartment when she found out about our transportation.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you talk about how do you balance that sustainability piece, we, we realized early on that not everybody, but many, many people need the rides. We were picking up at public housing, we were picking up millionaires, right? It's just
Yeah.
at
Right.
some point it doesn't discriminate economically. So this is our
Exactly.
first attempt at having a sliding scale in order to make this a sustainable program. And so far it's worked really well because,
Good.
um, we want to be able to keep doing this. We don't want people to come to uh, feel good about it and then have an avenue to get there and then have to pull it back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing the nuances of the critical nature of just something as simple as that. Um, You've said your nonprofit work has heightened your awareness not just of challenges, but of Tulsa's generosity. And what does Tulsa get right when it comes to stepping up?
I think we have that moniker, the most philanthropic city, and I think a lot of people um, attribute that to our really incredible foundation community. And there's a lot to say about that. We have some amazingly generous foundations,
Mm-hmm.
very sophisticated funders that really are strategic and are looking ahead, like in 50 years, how is this going to impact it? But we also have a lot of very generous people who just believe
Sorry.
that they need to that they need to support each other. Um, One of the things, if you ever want to be a better steward of donated dollars, you should open or at least take a look at the checks that come in. Because yes, it's wonderful to get a check for $10,000 or $25,000, but it is also really gratifying to get these checks that are beautiful cursive handwriting, um, for $10, right? And
Yes.
the person who gives that $10, that's not out of their donor advised fund. That's out of their grocery money. And
Right.
they are doing that. And if anything is going to keep you on the straight and narrow and making sure that you're trying to make the very best decisions with these donated dollars, it's knowing that it is sacrificial giving from people like that. Right. So I do
Yeah.
think Tulsa gets it right. I also think the nonprofit community is really collaborative here. I Nobody can do everything. And so there's a lot of things that I don't have answers to, that I have a long list of other nonprofits that we can call and say, we've been able to do this much. How can you help this? Or we're helping the grandmother, but there's this grandchild, what can you do? So I think that that's another area that's really pretty cool is I think the nonprofit community here really gets it right in terms of not seeing each other as competitors, but really as allies.
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
that's true. I mean, I think that in terms of even the philanthropic
the foundations really work
foundations.
well together.
Yes, just the common goal because it's so easy to get tunnel vision, I think sometimes.
Mhm.
And then always too backing down to the person that does give just whatever little bit they can. And, a lot of people would be thinking, oh, I don't know, is that enough to even bother? It's
Mhm.
always enough to bother, right?
Always enough to bother. It always makes a difference. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Um, so now at Life Senior Services, your focus is on aging. And I'm curious, what are some misconceptions people have about getting older, specifically getting older in Tulsa?
I think we're still wrestling a little bit. There's that line from Pogo, I have met the enemy and they are us, right? I have met the
Mhm.
aged and they are me. So I think there's still a little bit of a stigma. Um, we published Vintage Magazine, and that is a magazine for folks 50 plus. So if you really think about that, that's kind of three generations. And we recently interviewed for a new editor. And I was fascinated because I am 63 and I was interviewing people that were pretty close to my age, I think. And they were talking about, well, when you write for seniors, these people probably aren't ready to look at digital. Anyway, it was so fascinating to me because these people are me, and these people are you, Brent, and these people. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can read a digital edition of a magazine. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that you don't just want to read about burial plots. I mean, uh, I, I think that's what aging in Tulsa and aging anywhere. I think there's just this idea that there's a switch that flips, and that suddenly we're not interested in the same things anymore, or we're not able to contribute. And I just have found that not to be true. And it's really pretty inspiring. Like, if you want to feel better about getting older, my job is the very best job to have in the world because I see people that are like so dynamic and they're like in their 90s and we have some love stories. Um, at the senior center, we started teaching safe online dating for seniors, and then we followed that up with the safe sex for seniors. I mean, life doesn't stop because of some magical birth date. And I think that's really what I
Yeah,
want
exactly.
That's,
people
Yeah.
to know.
I mean, after I worked for about a year at Aberdeen Heights
Uh-huh.
as a server, and there were, I mean, some of these people were just smart as a whip, and they were so themselves. They just needed a little extra help. And I really was able to see the humanity there. So yeah,
Yeah.
what you're saying really resonates with me. Um,
Well, and it kind of sneaks up on you. I can say that because
Yes.
I am a senior citizen now. You know, I mean, it's like all of a sudden you're immersed in it, and you're like, you know, yeah, I can see. You know, and we're all just, you know, so close to. I mean, you've got family members, but say all of a sudden, a few of them move away, and
Mhm.
they're busy, or you know, you don't want to impose, you know, that you have all these programs to assist
And there
folks.
are a lot of people out there who I think that is one thing that surprised me a little bit, um, was how many people are out there and they're fine, but they are aging alone. I mean,
Yes.
they don't have family here. So I do
Hmm.
think that the community aspect of it and then having the independent case management, just, I might call my daughter, and who do they call? So it's nice to have somebody on the other end of the phone just to have those conversations.
Right.
Absolutely. Um, you yourself
Um,
experienced Life Senior Services firsthand while caring for your parents. How did being a daughter navigating those decisions shape the leader you are today?
I just think that um, it keeps you humble. You lead with humility because you know that, gosh, caregivers have such a big. Uh, I did not find caregiving for my mother like burdensome in any way. Um, it was a gift in a lot of ways, and she gave so much to us. I mean, with the kids, I mean, it was, she lived with us for about 7 years, and it was really, honestly, a blessing and a joy. And yet, toward the end of her life, I was not equipped. Like, I didn't quite understand how to help best. I didn't understand some of the changes. And that's how I ended up at Life Senior Services because there was just a day that I just was pretty much failing on all fronts, professionally, personally, as a mother, as a daughter, pretty much anything. And I wheeled into that parking lot just looking for resources, and they were just so kind. Um, but the statistics on caregiving unsupported are kind of dismal, right? It's quite often a caregiver might predecease the person they're caring for because the physical and emotional stress that caregiving can present. So that's a big piece of what we try to do here at Life is make sure that caregivers have some place to turn. We have our adult day health, but we also have caregiver support. We have several caregiver support groups. We had a gentleman raise his hand about a year ago and say, "Hey, these ladies in my caregiver support group are great and all. They're real nice, but their problems are not my problems. I would like to talk with other men," which I thought
uh,
was really interesting. And
uh,
so we've started a male only caregiver support group. It's now grown and we have a second one. And it is, their topics are different. And I think
well,
it's
and just to
time.
get men to talk.
Right. Right. It's true. So it's true.
Hmm. Well, aging forces families into difficult conversations
Hmm.
with housing and health and independence. What
Hmm.
advice would you give someone who knows those talks are coming but doesn't know how to start?
So we have the aforementioned, we do have a independent case manager that all she does is caregiver support. So the best advice for all of us is start having those conversations way before you ever need to have the conversations. Like,
Hmm.
you know, you're
You know,
hale and healthy and doing great. So you and Chase should be talking about, all kinds of stuff now. This before
yeah,
because the closer it gets to reality, then the emotions really kick in, right?
and
Like right
defensiveness,
now,
and
it's
yeah,
not emotional because you're like, no, I actually think I'd rather go here than there, or I'd rather have a caregiver at home because it's not pending. When it's
right.
pending, the emotion gets really high, and then the financial, concerns. So the best advice is start talking about it, on your kindergarten day out with your kid. Hey, I'm going to live with you. Um, but just early conversations, and then our caregiver support folks really will role play with you. You can call, just make an appointment. So if you're in a place where you see a parent or a you know sibling, whatever, who's needing some different level of care, or you have some real concerns, the, you can call us and say, I need to start this conversation. It seems emotional. I don't exactly know, and they can role play with you. They can give you some prompts, because the beauty of that is they've been in these conversations multiple times, and they can kind of give you some different alternate routes. So I
Okay.
did say take advantage of the free help, um, because it's hard. It's hard to talk to somebody about their changing body or their changing mind. I mean, it's not, or changing finances. I mean,
True.
there's all kinds of reasons
Yeah.
that people need to have these conversations, but practice is helpful. It makes you a little more prepared and a little less anxious, I think.
For listeners who may not know, what are some of the programs under Life Senior Services people should be aware of?
So Life Senior Services, we have 3 organizations. So there's Life Senior Services, and then we have Vintage Housing, and we have 19 affordable senior housing communities, and then we have a PACE clinic. That's a acronym, program for all-inclusive care for the elderly. That's a closed medical practice where we are both your doctor and your insurance company, for folks. Most of our folks are Medicare and Medicaid, so that's a sort of federally supported program. But at Live Senior Services, we have such an amazing array of things. We had our volunteer appreciation luncheon today. We have a volunteer matching program. So if you retire or you go to a reduced schedule and you think, wow, I kind of want to learn more about the community, or I want to volunteer, you can just call us and kind of tell us what you're interested in, or you can sign up for our Give Five program. We do that 4 times a year, where you come in and you kind of learn about issues in Tulsa, like maybe it's homelessness or food insecurity. It's 5 consecutive Wednesdays, and in the afternoon, you get on a big green bus and you go to about 6 places that accept volunteers that deal with those issues, and at the end, it's kind of like a college signing ceremony. You commit to volunteering at 1 or 2 places, and I love that program because you learn so much about the community, and you get to see firsthand, kind of what these organizations do. Even if you don't volunteer there, I think it's just such a great thing to learn what's going on in the community. Um, we have our active senior center at Ramaberry, which we have everything from mahjong, pickleball, we have yoga, pottery. I met with a guy today that wants to teach. He's a black belt in karate, and he wants to start karate classes there. So stay tuned for that. There's people just come and hang out, or people come and do live activities. That is $100 a year, and I think it's the best value in town. So for 7 days a week, we have an education program where we do teach things like we talked about, safe online dating, safe sex, all of those things. We teach Medicare. We have Medicare preparedness. So we teach Medicare enrollment all year long. And then we also have Medicare assistance for Part D for your prescriptions when open enrollment happens. Usually that's October through December. We have a tax preparation program. We publish the Vintage magazine. We have the case management that we talked about, where you can call
Mhm.
up. You can say, I'm looking for housing help for my mother, or I need to have a tough conversation. We also have, sadly, we have an elder abuse advocate, because sometimes we get calls from a bank who says, we've got this customer, he's been coming in for years, and now there's this person and they're taking up money. So we work to try to protect folks in that way. We have something called Senior Line, which is sort of just a all-inclusive helpline. You can call us and say, do you have a plumber that gives a senior discount? Or sometimes it's something weightier. I had a woman call and she said she needed to talk about the VA benefits. And I said, well, that's not my area of expertise, but tell me what you need. And she said, my husband has just been sent to McAllister for molesting our granddaughter, and I need to know where his VA benefits are going to go. Um, So, you
That's
never
neat.
know actually what those calls are
Yeah.
gonna be. And
Right.
she did need to know about VA benefits, but she also needed some counseling and some other things to go along with that. So,
Yeah.
um, it's
Well,
a
that's
it's a broad we have Adult Day Health, which is a beautiful program for folks who really can't be at home alone during the day.
uh-huh.
So, mainly it's for memory issues, but not all. And we have a location in North Tulsa, and we have a location at Roma Berry. So,
Okay.
uh,
Very
and then the
good.
transportation that we mentioned. So,
Yes. Now, I think we all know someone that probably just needs somebody,
yeah.
uh, the senior loneliness can be invisible. And what do you see locally, and how can everyday Tulsans help?
You're exactly right. Isolation is the number one enemy to healthy aging, right?
Right.
And a lot of people are isolated. So if you're a neighbor, or you have a relative that maybe isn't a close family member, but you see them some. I mean, encouraging them, really just being kind, listening, inviting them out to lunch, all of those things help. But I also understand that people have busy lives and they can't always technically adopt the senior that lives around the corner full time. So, really encouraging them. Obviously, I think I'm biased at Life Senior Services. That's one thing. They can join the senior center. But Broken Arrow also has a big senior center. I love this. This is my, I was just
Did,
saying, encourage them to get a
did,
pet.
did you see my dog?
I do see your dog. You're getting
So
kisses.
this is part of
I love it.
our alarm system here at Paris of the Prairie.
The arm around the shoulder is
That's
beautiful.
right. That's right.
She's like, Dad.
They're so,
Yes.
they're so shy.
Just like a human right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, parks departments. I mean, a lot of times people are nervous about going someplace on their own for spring.
Hmm.
And, our society has changed. Yes, a lot of people still get up and go to church or synagogue, but not as many as did 20 years ago. And that was a lot of the social fabric previously as people aged. So encouraging them any way you can,
Yeah.
you know, to just connect, whether it's, that's one thing about that Give 5 program I mentioned. It's kind of fun because you see people that come in, they don't know each other. And by the end of those 5 weeks, they're good friends. They're going to volunteer at the same place together. I have a therapist that pulled me aside and said, I just want you to know that Roma Berry Center is saving lives. And
Oh, that's awesome.
he's like, and I said, well, tell me about that. She said, that you'd be surprised how many people don't have anybody. And they say, well, I don't know how to play bridge. And she's like, just go. And she said, it's amazing. So whether it's Roma Berry or Broken Arrow Seniors or Whiteside Park or Lacey Park, just encouraging people to just take that leap and try to, I mean, just get out of their comfort zone and get out and be with people.
Yeah.
Main
Well,
thing.
exactly.
And there's
Totally.
a lot of affordable ways to do that.
Yeah,
Right.
more than people expect. Absolutely. Um,
Mhm.
so you've led large, complex organizations. What makes nonprofit leadership in Tulsa unique?
It is interesting because we have several folks on our leadership team here that came out of large corporations, and we have some that came from nonprofits. And there is a slightly different approach, I think. I think my CFO, who came out of corporate, would probably tell you I'm too soft on people. I don't know that that's true, but I do think that nonprofit leaders probably do look at each employee as the sum of their experiences in a way that maybe I can't speak to how other people look, but I do think that's probably more prevalent in nonprofits, and that we do have to be good stewards, and we do have to make sure that people are achieving their objectives and moving the organization forward. But I think we're probably more cognizant of the fact that we just are an amalgamation of our experiences and maybe are a little more patient about some of those things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, so when you think about Tulsa at its best,
Mhm.
um, where do you go to find it for yourself?
Mm. You know, I think we've got so many. I mean, I've grown up here, so some of the places that I make me nostalgic. Somebody else might say, obviously, I have kids in their 30s and mid 20s. They would tell you a whole different list of things. Like they're so into downtown. I think downtown's great, but that isn't where I go to. Like, I love it, and I think it's really cool how it's developed. But I'd be more likely to wander around the grounds at Gilcrease. I
Hmm.
love, when I was growing up, Philbrook was just kind of a wide open field in the back, and we would go and just run and play tag and all of
Isn't
those
that the
places.
truth?
Yes, and it's so funny.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
always talk about with the kids, about playing football and throwing the
Yes.
frisbee and things like that.
Yes.
He is
That we
always
just
talking about that.
Yeah.
How
You
children
probably thought he was lying. It's true. It's true, Chase. We did. We just kind of treated it like a big yard. It was really very
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
Uh, and, Utica Square, um, I don't even know the less. I mean, I just think it's so iconic for me. There's a TG&Y there when I was little that I would go to my birthday presents. I mean, it's changed quite a bit since that time. But I think there are just some iconic places in Tulsa um, like that make me, you know, that
Yeah.
mean Tulsa to me.
Nice. Well, I can't believe we've already come to the end. I just can't thank you enough for
I
joining us
can't thank
today.
you enough for letting me be on Paris of the Prairie. Like, that's going to
Well,
be like on my tombstone. That's the best title of a podcast. I'm so excited.
I
well,
mean,
it's
just
so
you are why we're here. We just want to the work that you do and the inspiration that you provide uh, and and aid to. I mean, not only Life Senior Services, but you have across the spectrum of things that you've done in your career. Can't thank you enough.
Well, I was a
and I
philosophy major. No clear career path for that. So, yeah,
well, and I
got to try a
I
little bit of
really
everything.
I really do love how it's a shame how, especially nowadays, in our culture, uh, elders aren't respected in the way that they are in other societies. And so seeing
Mhm.
you and people like you take matters into your own hands and do a lot of macro level social work is just really inspiring.
Well, I it's in my own self interest that we like old people. So, uh,
Right.
I intend to keep working on that one.
We're going to keep working on
Awesome.
it.
Well, thank you very much, and
Thank
Thank
you
you so
both so
much.
much.
keep
The
on doing the
technology
good work.
works. Yeah,
Technology works sometimes.
Yes,
so
exactly.
excited. Have a great
Awesome.
rest of the day.
And as always, follow Paris of the Prairie wherever you get your podcasts. If you know someone in Tulsa, big or small, who is making a difference, send us a note to info@parisoftheprairie.us.